In September of 2020, I left Apple Music after using it for 5 years, and ever since then, I originally was going to switch to YouTube Music, but then my brother-in-law actually offered me a slot on his Spotify family plan. So even though I wasn't intending on switching to Spotify Premium, that's just kind of how the world ended up. So now I've used Spotify Premium as my daily music listening service for over a year, and of course I have even longer experience with Apple Music, so I figured now, since Shazam was offering everybody a free Apple Music trial for 2 months, it'd be a perfect time to compare the two and tell you guys the pros and cons of both services after using both of them for extended periods of time. And may I just say from the beginning, it's not an easy answer, there's not a clear winner, it's going to depend a lot on what kind of person you are, what you prefer in your streaming apps, and while I may have a final verdict by the end of this video, that does not mean it is the best for everyone. Let's begin. So shocking no one, as I'm an Apple sheep, Apple Music I do think streamlines a lot and actually minimalizes a lot of the complexities that are involved with having a music streaming app of some kind, because of course you get to use the same Apple ID you use when you set up your iPhone. So Apple Music technically is on Android, yes, but if you're on an iOS device, it is so much easier to set up and start using Apple Music because as soon as you set up your device, basically, it's ready to play your music. You don't have to have a separate email with a separate password and download a third-party app from the App Store. No, all of that stuff is just by default built in. In fact, when I re-downloaded the Apple Music app for this video, it actually instantly puts it in your iOS dock, which I previously had Spotify there. So it was like intentionally pushing out whatever your current music streaming application is and saying, nope, we're the default now, you're gonna start using us. And that is one slightly annoying thing, is that if you do have the music app on your phone and it connects to Bluetooth, it will instantly start playing a song from the music app. Even if you use Spotify most of the time, it will not play that by default. Hopefully in the future, Apple lets you choose a different default music streaming app, but as of right now, they're not interested. If the music app is on your phone, that's what they're going to use. So for the longest time, I just deleted it and didn't have the music app at all, but for ease of setup, I think Apple Music has to win there, as well as the UI. You know, Spotify doesn't have a bad UI per se. It's actually quite unique and original. I appreciate that there's even a now playing, redesign for your Apple Watch when you're using Spotify with a different redesigned volume indicator. You have different options and menus that pop up as the song is playing. It's not just the default now playing tab on your watch like it is with YouTube videos or online content. No, Spotify actually put a lot of work and detail into making their app feel original, and everything from the font to the layout has its own kind of character to it. It's just a character that doesn't really fit in too much with the iOS user interface, whereas of course Apple Music blends in perfectly, talking that same kind of UI language that you're used to between all of the different iOS apps on there. But I think the biggest UI difference that I don't see that many people talk about is the simple feature that I really wish Spotify would add, which is add to library. It's very simple to just look up a song or an album and specifically just tap on the side of it and hit add to my library, and boom, you can add individual songs or albums to your recently added, which makes it so much easier to actually access the most recent stuff you've added. Whereas with Spotify, I think there's a much larger emphasis on playlists. There's not really a simple add to library button. You can like a song, which kind of puts it in its own dedicated playlist, or you can, add it to a queue, or you can add it to a custom playlist. But to me, that kind of complicates the library a little bit more, especially given some may view this as a perk, but Spotify also supports lots of podcasts. In fact, some exclusive podcasts with video versions, whereas Apple Music is just music. Apple Podcasts is a completely different app with a completely different subscription model if you're interested in that kind of thing. But overall, Spotify, the library section, in my view, is very easy to get cluttered because you can't just add an individual song to the library. You have to either like it, which puts it in this big playlist of songs that you may like, or a dedicated playlist that you can choose for different times of the day or for different uses. And I get that some people probably want all of their audio stuff in one place, but even after using Spotify Premium for over a year now, I can say confidently that I just think the ease of access of Apple Music is a cleaner and better user interface. On that note, also the lyrics function is way better on Apple Music. It's very clean and it's dynamic, it's animated. I love how you can scroll ahead in the lyrics and jump to that part of the song. It also looks far cleaner. I love that Apple Music actually has a volume slider when albums are playing. Spotify, for whatever reason, has something against that. I think Android in general has something against additional volume sliders. sliders. They're like, no, you just got to use the buttons, and I don't want to have to use the buttons if there's a slider right there. I just think that Spotify probably gives you a lot of controls, and a lot of the UI decisions are interesting and kind of unique in that regard, that they don't feel like copycats of each other. But if I had to pick one, just showing the album art with a couple of play pause functions and a volume slider looks a lot cleaner to me than what Spotify does, which is kind of stuff the whole UI with all kinds of buttons, and with a lot of songs even play like 4 to 5 second videos in the background, but I find them usually kind of pixelated and low quality, and frankly not that really compelling. It doesn't look as clean or as minimal, because a lot of what the artists end up putting on Spotify in that 4 to 5 seconds is not very interesting or compelling to look at, especially because it loops just constantly. So it's not that you really stare at your phone as the music is playing very much, it's just little UI differences like that. The reason I gotta get hung up on these details is because at the end of the day, both services still get the job done fairly well. You know, I'm still very happy with Spotify because I've used it for over a year, and it's done a great job at just always having the music I'm looking for. You know, there's very rarely ever been a time where I was like, what's that song that goes like this, or what's that song by this one band? And I can just look it up, and there's tons of results. And for the longest time, I was confused by so many people saying that, you know, Spotify has the way better algorithm, because I occasionally used Apple Music Radio and thought it was fine, but now that I've used Spotify for a long time, I can confidently say I know what people are talking about now. Automatic radio that starts playing after you listen to a song is spooky good at finding music that I'm also interested in, and I've found a ton of songs directly through Spotify that just have the exact same style and tone that I've been looking for in more of my daily listening playlist, which I've loved, and I don't recall ever having experiences like that with Apple Music Radio. You know, it's fine, it's kind of just shuffling a lot of pop songs together for me, but ever since I've been on Spotify, I've found a lot of great artists and a lot of great bands that fit the demographic that I realize I fit into. So absolutely, Spotify in my book has a win there with the algorithm being really nice, as well as the social factor of Spotify. The fact that they give you actual analytics when it comes to here's what this artist's most popular songs are, here's how many plays their songs have had. It's kind of mind-blowing when you see like the millions of playbacks on a lot of those songs, and you find out, oh, a lot of people are into the same music that I am, or here's a song that was really popular that I didn't know about. And Apple Music kind of does that with different artists. They just don't give you really the raw numbers. They don't tell you the number of followers an artist has, and I would say sharing playlists on Spotify is typically a bit easier than Apple Music. Just compiling one and posting it publicly, plus the little QR code thing Spotify does, I don't really see equal to that on Apple Music. And Apple and social networks has just never really had much success, and I think Apple Music in their Connect feature, which is fairly hard to find and not very user-friendly, is just another one of Apple's big flops as they try to do a music social network of some kind. The other great advantage Spotify has is a free version, so it does have ads and you can't skip as many songs as you would like, so it's pretty much on par with something like Pandora free internet radio, but you do get to decide at least occasionally what song you want to listen to, and then it kind of box you into a corner of what you can actually choose after that first song. So I hate ads. I don't want to hear that when I'm listening to music, so I'm not willing to try out the free version, but it's something that Apple Music isn't offering. However, I will say, if we are talking about paid music streaming services, okay, if we just ignore the fact that some of you may want a free option with ads, yeah, I can't compete with that. Apple Music has no alternative to that, and comparing the two is going to be kind of pointless if that's what you're comfortable with. But if you are comfortable spending a little bit of money every single month, I think Apple Music actually has the better deal overall. The prices are not as close as you may think. The only two things Apple Music and Spotify have in common in terms of pricing is the monthly individual plan, which is $9.99 a month, as well as the student plan. So if you can register as a student, you can get Spotify Premium or Apple Music for $4.99 a month, which is a pretty dang good deal, but of course student is usually a temporary measure, and then once you graduate, you're gonna have to pick a different plan anyway. And that's where I think Apple Music really shines, because they have an annual option for individual, which I have not seen Spotify offer. And the reason I bring that up is usually people don't like switching their music libraries too regularly. So once you get comfortable with either Apple Music or Spotify, you're probably going to keep that subscription going for a very, very long time. So going with the annual plan on Apple Music can actually save you money, because it's $99 a year, which ends up balancing out around $8.25 a month. So a little bit cheaper than Spotify Premium. Not to mention, if you want to go with a family plan, both Apple Music Family and Spotify Premium Family offer up to 6 people total, except Spotify's is $15.99 $13.99 a month, whereas Apple Music's $14.99. So technically a little bit cheaper overall on the Apple Music side of things, as well as now Apple just introduced last year a voice plan. So if you ever buy a HomePod Mini or you find an old OG HomePod, because the sound quality on those things is great, and you're frustrated that Spotify doesn't support those HomePods, you can get the Apple Music voice plan, which is $4.99 a month, and you don't have to be a student to get that price. You basically just lose the user interface of the music app, you know? You don't get to necessarily download music, but as long as you tell Siri to play a specific song, she will play that song. And sure, the voice commands are a little bit annoying, but you can still play just as much music as you're used to for half the price of premium. And again, that's not restricted to just HomePods. You can do that on any iOS device for $4.99 a month. Just tell Siri to play whatever music you want, and she will play it, and then afterwards play kind of a radio based on that first song. But if you're willing to talk to Siri all the time, you can basically get her to play whatever, and there's no ads, which I don't see a lot of people using that plan, because having to talk to Siri every time you want to play a song probably will get a bit annoying, but it's an option out there that Spotify is not rocking. So as far as premium plans go, I have to lean towards Apple Music in terms of affordability, but yeah, if you are counting free version, Spotify has still got Apple beat there. Another point that certainly should be mentioned is Apple has recently switched all of Apple Music to lossless playback. So if you care about having high bitrate, high fidelity audio, Spotify has kind of delayed those plans and has since said we don't really know when we're going to offer lossless playback, even though they said they want to do it eventually. Whereas Apple really accelerated that timeline. So pretty much now any song you pull up on Apple Music is going to have a lossless option, and spatial audio, which some people really care about. I've tried it in the past. I've not been too wowed by it. I find it kind of gimmicky, but yes, if you're into the surround sound concept of music coming from all the different directions, artists have a lot more control with that over on Apple Music, and as long as you've got AirPods Pro or AirPods 3 or AirPods Max of some kind, you can get some spatial audio experiences through Apple Music, which is pretty cool. However, lossless, as cool as it sounds, only works with a wired option so far, so if you're using any kind of wireless headphones or even just cheap wired earbuds, you're not going to appreciate lossless. You're not going to be able to hear it or notice the difference. You really need some specific hardware to be able to pick up that lossless signal, so that's why it's not a huge selling point to me, because I'm not really an audiophile, and I don't plan on using headphones that support the lossless playback anytime soon. So maybe if Apple brings lossless playback to AirPods Pro 2, I could start appreciating it, but that's not coming out for a while. So hopefully Spotify is able to catch up in that regard soon. But as great as both music streaming services are, I have to come back to they both get the job done incredibly well. And even though Apple Music may have a few advantages here and there, the concept of you opening an app on your phone and just being able to look up a song and start playing it within a few seconds is still achieved with both of these services. It's not that one is inherently terrible at it and one is inherently good at it. They're both trying best they can with what they have, and I think frankly most people would be happy with either, which is why even though Apple Music has all of these great spatial audio and lossless features, and I think the UI is far cleaner and it's easier to set up, and I like the device syncing between all of my different Apple products, and I like the add to library feature, I'm still gonna have to fall back on Spotify for my daily listening app, because like many of you, I probably am just in a lucky position where one person is willing to cover the cost of the family plan, and either through a bundle that's available in your region or a discount you were able to sign up for, you're able to get it for far cheaper or free just through a friend or a family member. So I'm sorry, I'm not really willing to spend an extra $8 a month just so that my music app user interface is a little bit cleaner. There's far more songs that support the lyrics on Apple Music than there is on Spotify, but usually I'm not staring at my phone screen when I'm listening to music. I pretty much just start playing the song and then the phone goes into my pocket, or I go to another app to send texts or check email. So even after all this time using Spotify and then going back to Apple Music for a few weeks, I'm not convinced that the extra expense is worth it to me. But if I had to pick an overall winner in terms of value, because I know I can't just recommend all of you just sign up with your brother-in-law's family premium account. Like if he didn't offer that and YouTube Premium wasn't a thing and I couldn't use YouTube Music either, in that case I would have to choose Apple Music as the overall winner, just because of the flexibility of the pricing plans, the UI being far cleaner, and that add to library function I found incredibly useful compared to Spotify's approach of just doing everything through playlists. So it's kind of like how I'll admit that there are better TVs than the 55-inch Roku TCL monitor I have, but it's not worth the extra $2,000 to buy those TVs for me, so that's why I just live with my cheap one, because it gets the job done. phone, and I acknowledge that AirPods Max sound way better than AirPods Pro and have better battery life, but the extra cost does not warrant that benefit because I also have to stick with the stupid case and the lightning charging. So that's why in the meantime, I'm still gonna be rocking Spotify Premium. But what matters to you guys in a music streaming service? What's your daily app of choice? Are there other ones out there that you think are worth it that aren't getting enough attention? Feel free to let me know down below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.